How many of us can say that we're willing to go all in on our dreams? It's a tough question to answer sometimes because when you hear stories like this, you think, well, that person has a unique set of circumstances. Well, that story's different, but it's not. What moment have you stuck your feet in the sand, looked up at God and said, I'm going all in. This is my decision. It's not a maybe. It's not a kind of. I've decided to go all in on my dream life.
Welcome, everybody, to the Chris Harder Show, where we are making you unapologetic about your pursuit of success, knowing that when good people like you make good money, they can then do great things. My name is Chris Harder, and several times per week, I will bring you epic guests, solo episodes, and every single tool, trick, and skill set you need to grow your business, grow your money mindset, and to grow your wealth to levels that you have never reached before. I've ended up in a unique place in life where I've got the experience, the connections, and all of the secrets that it takes to be successful. And I'm lifting the curtain to reveal it all to you in an effort to help put you in a position of abundance so great that you can then be as generous as possible. So let's lock arms and let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chris Harder Show, where today I'm grateful. Well, I'll tell you what, it's Memorial Day weekend. So I am grateful for all of the soldiers and all of their families who have paid the ultimate price so that we can have freedom, so we can have opportunity, so we can have safety, so we can have a podcast, a business, a home, whatever it might be. Those things are protected by people who make the ultimate sacrifice over and over again. And so I just want to pay my respects and celebrate the hallway and make that my gratitude. And if you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I start every one of my solo podcasts with gratitude so I can lead by example. I believe when you build a foundation of gratitude and gratitude practices on a daily basis, then you realize that you are much better off than your survivalist brain would have you believe if left to default. Now, I want to tell you guys a story today because yesterday I got a chance to catch up with an old friend and I guess I'd say an old acquaintance that, we've kind of built a friendship with over time. So for context, those of you that have listened for a long time and followed me for a long time, you know that I went through a couple-year motorhome phase where I bought the biggest bus that you can buy, 45 feet long, and went toting around the country a few months at a time with Lori during 2020 when everything was shut down and 2021. And I loved that phase. Lori, not so much. She kind of tolerated that phase, but I loved it. I loved it because I just lost my dad and, the world was upside down with COVID and all this other stuff. And it's something I had wanted to do my whole life, like bucket list item. And so for me, it was a very special time in my life. Now, as the story goes, you would have to know that when you buy one of these big rigs, I don't care how nice of a unit you buy. I don't care if it's brand new, like the one I bought was brand new. And by the way, never buy a brand new motorhome, a brand new bus. It's the worst depreciating thing on the planet. But, even if you buy it brand new, even if you buy high quality, these things break down for the first year or two. Because, think of it this way, you're driving a house down the road at 70 miles an hour, shaking and bumping and flying for 10 hours a day, or 8 hours a day, or 6 hours a day every day. So what happens is no matter how well this thing is built, even though they know this is going to happen, things shake loose. Wires shake loose internally. Things break. There's not a single motorhome owner on the planet that doesn't have to, quote unquote, work the bugs out in the first year. That's why when you buy these things, a lot of times they say, buy one that's 1 or 2 years old where someone already worked the bugs out. It's a real thing. So nonetheless, for context, 2020, 2021, the whole world had this idea and the whole world was out there motorhoming and camping and doing all these things because the cities were shut down. And so demand for these things went through the roof and the value of these things went through the roof for a minute. And the ability to get them repaired, or I should say the delay to get these things repaired went through the roof because a whole bunch of novices who never owned these things before suddenly owned them and realized, oh my God, everything is breaking. So what does this mean for me? Every time I'd get back from a 2 or 3 month trip, I'd have a laundry list, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things that had to be fixed before the next time we went out. And I'd get to the RV dealership and they'd say, oh man, I'm sorry. First time we can get you in is in like 8 weeks, like 2 months out. I'm like, no, because I want to use this thing again. I don't want it to start being repaired in 2 months and, repair it for a couple of weeks after that. And before you know it, it's 3 months before you get this thing back. And, that's ridiculous. So me and my problem solving brain that I always have says there's got to be a better way. So I befriended this kid at the front desk named Randall Baker. He was one of the service techs. So he would check in the motorhome and get it in queue and keep you updated on all the stuff. And right away, I knew this kid had special energy. I could tell that, sure, right now he might be a service tech at a motorhome dealership, but there's something really special about this kid. And so we just kind of struck a chord and chemistry-wise. And, I'd say to him, hey, listen, totally cool if not, but is there any way that I could kind of grease the wheels and get to the front of the line? Is there any way that, we could get this thing on the road a little faster than just sitting in line? And I said, what if I said only these things have to be done, only the crucial things, etc. And for some reason, he took enough of a liking to me where he would get the mechanics to stay after their shift was done in the evening, put my rig up on the lift, picture this giant bus on a giant bus lift, and work on it for a few hours each night after hours. Still to this day, I don't know why he did it. Now, I would reward him. I'd say, hey, man, thanks for doing that. Here's some cash. Hey, man, thanks for doing that. He loved Scotch whiskey, so here's a bottle of Blue Label. Hey, man, thanks for doing that. Here's something nice to make your life better. But it didn't start that way. He didn't do this because I said, hey, man, let me give you money and you move me to the front of the line. So for some reason, he took a liking to me and decided, yeah, I'm going to move this thing to the front of the line. And that very much became the beginning of our friendship. So now fast forward a whole bunch of years. He leaves that job and does a couple different mechanics jobs. He's very inclined to be great at working on cars and, anything on wheels. And I go off and I do my own life and I outgrow my motorhome phase, or I should say Lori makes me outgrow my motorhome phase and we sell it. And that's the end of that. Now, he and we stayed in touch a little bit on Instagram here and there, on text here and there. And again, there's kind of a special bond, but no reason to be friends. He's a lot younger than me, etc. But then somewhere along the way, he would check in, ask advice, and I would kind of give him some mentorship advice. And then in December of 2023, he had a tragic accident. He had a motorcycle accident that caused him to lose his right arm. Now imagine being a mechanic, you make your life under the hood using tools, and all of a sudden you lose one of your arms. Well, for most of us, this would be absolutely catastrophic. For him, I don't know why, I don't know how. Well, I do. Here's the punchline soon. But he saw it as a blessing. Now, nobody else in this time, by the way, he was in a coma. So when he came out of his coma, he told his family, who was freaking out, guys, don't worry. There's a blessing in this. Guys, don't worry. This happened for a reason. And his family's like, what are you talking about? This is terrible. You were in a coma this whole time. You just woke up and you don't have an arm, dude. What are you going to do? How are you going to make a living? And he said, don't worry. There's a blessing in this. So where is all this going? I caught up with him and had a couple of beers yesterday. He lives not too far north of me in California here, and we've been intending on getting together. So we caught up over a couple of beers. And I asked him about that moment because I'd called him when this happened and he was very positive. I asked him about that moment. I said, you had an accident. You lost your arm. You were in a coma. You woke up without an arm. How in the world did you see any bright spot in that? And what he said floored me. He said, well, what do you mean? I learned it from you guys. I learned it from you and Lori on your podcast way back when we met, when I was repairing your motorhome. I started listening to your guys' podcasts and you would talk about things like getting bigger than the problem. You would talk about things like faith in the unknown. You'd talk about things like there's a blessing in everything, a silver lining in everything. All you have to do is look for it. You'd talk about things like, well, the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. Which one are you going to consider? And he said you would talk about these things all the time. And well, I just took them to heart. So when this happened, I knew that the glass was half full, not half empty. I knew that there was opportunity in this. I knew that this could become my superpower. I knew that this was meant to be. I knew that this didn't have to define me. And I sat there floored because you never realize the impact that you are having on somebody's life when you sit here and just record a little show, when you say something once a week. And I guess somehow it forms a pattern of thoughts that are actually helping people's lives out there. Believe it or not, those of you that are podcasters, you know this. You just don't really sit and think that that's really happening at the magnitude that it happened for Randy. So the story gets better. He starts applying for jobs at major dealerships saying, hey, I've got one arm. I can't be a mechanic, but I can still check everybody in and run the service department. And during this time of applying for jobs, he really gets honest with himself. You lose an arm, that causes you to get honest with yourself on what he really wanted to do in life. And what he realized is he's been a musician his whole life, and a great one. And he's dabbled in bands here and there. But he decided, what would happen if I went all in? And unlike the other 10,000 white males trying to be a lead musician out there, I now have a superpower that makes me stand out. I've got one arm. And see, I like glasses half full, not glasses half empty. So he can no longer play the guitar, but he learned how to play the piano. And it's a hit when he's playing piano and he's lead vocals and he's singing and people see the one arm. Like, that makes him stand out. That inspires people. It's not just music anymore. So he makes this critical decision one day on a walk on a beach. He says, forget these jobs that I applied for. I've been given a second chance. I'm going all in on my music career because who knows how it's going to affect other people. And he did. Now, here's what's crazy. He's out to lunch with his dad later that afternoon after making this decision. And he tells his dad of this decision that he makes. Dad, I'm not going back. I'm not getting a job. I'm not going to say yes to any of these jobs. I'm going all in on my music career. And his dad, supports him. Says, that's great, son. Like, I think you should do it. You've been given a second chance. And then his phone rings at the end of their lunch. And it's this major dealership group. And it's one that he had interviewed with many, many, many weeks back. And they said, Randy, we'd like to offer you a job. And not just any old job. We'd like to offer you this one particular job, and it's a dream job, and it's a dream salary, and it's dream benefits, and it takes care of everything. I mean, more money than he's ever made in his life. And the timing of this cannot be lost on you. That morning, he makes the decision. He proclaims it to the universe. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going all in on my music. He has lunch with his dad. He tells his dad supports it. And then life tests you. Hey, ring, ring, ring. Here's your dream job. Here's more money than you've ever made. Are you certain in your decision? Are you certain that you're going all in? Or was that just a brief moment of feeling good? Well, for Randy, he told the guy on the phone, he said, listen, sir, thank you so much for the offer. I'm very, very grateful, but I'm going to have to respectfully decline it. The guy says, I'm sorry, what? Okay, do you mind if I ask why? He says, well, since I interviewed many weeks ago, I had a tragic accident. I lost my arm. I was in a coma, and I've woken up and decided I'm going all in on my music career because I've been given a second chance. And the guy who was trying to hire him says, when I interviewed you, I knew there was something special about you. I think you're making the right decision. You're different. You're special. The same thing I recognized back in 2020 when I'm talking to this kid saying, hey, can you move my motorhome up in the queue to get repaired? I knew there was someone special there. And so I share this story with you because now his music career is going good. It's still in the early stages, but they're making money and he's able to support himself. So why do I share this with you? Well, number one, you never know the impact you're making on somebody. So lean into your magic. If you're a musician, if you're a podcaster, if you make social media, if you're an author, if you have something to say it because you don't realize the impact it's having on other people. I've just been lucky enough to hear from Randy and some others, hey man, in my time of tragedy, I turn back to some of the things that you guys teach. Second, ask yourself, what does it look like to burn the boats and go all in? It's not like he made this decision out of being in a place comfortably financially. It's the opposite. He didn't make this decision from a place of certainty. He didn't make this place from a lack of options. He had his dream job offered to him. But he decided he was going all in on his dreams. How many of us can say that we're willing to go all in on our dreams? How many of you have decided to go all in on your dreams? It's a tough question to answer sometimes because when you hear stories like this, you think, well, that person has a unique set of circumstances. Well, that story's different, but it's not. What's your motorcycle accident? What's your version of losing your arm? What's your version of a wake-up call? What moment have you stuck your feet in the sand, looked up at God and said, I'm going all in. This is my decision. It's not a maybe. It's not a kind of, I'm decided. And then what's your moment of telling the dream job offer, sorry, it's not for me anymore? You've got to have all of those moments before you can look yourself in the eye in the mirror and say, I've decided to go all in on my dream life. And by the way, guys, I do dream life budget exercises now. They're super fun. They take about 75 minutes on Zoom, and we dial in exactly what you need to earn in your life to mathematically live your dream life. We strip away all the shoulds and coulds and woulds, and we decide, what do you really need to make and what do you really want in life? It's a really cool exercise. If you want to do one of those, DM me at Chris W. Harder, or just go to chrisharder.me/coaching and just put a note in the box that you want to do a dream life exercise. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Love and appreciate you.
Thanks for listening. And if you loved this episode and know of someone else who is as successful as they are generous, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world to me if you help me get this cause and this message out to as many listeners as I can. So please, if you liked what you heard, it goes a long way if you take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. I'll be forever grateful. And until the next episode, cheers to your success.